and we think we're going to do this many Thursdays now, is because we're involved in a lot of different aspects around marketing and startups and so on. We've all had a lot of, or at least everyone on this call, has had a lot of experience with a lot of different tools as we try them out and see what fits best for this kind of business or that kind of service or some kind of product and so on. So today we're going to talk about a few categories of tools that we use, some of which you'll probably have used before, or at least heard of, some of which I hope are brand new to you and turn out to be super valuable. And the first area that I'd want to talk about, and then I think, John, because we have Heather here, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and then tell me your favorite tool around X or Y. Okay. Or whether you even use a tool for this. So first category, lead generation, and specifically, what, if any, tool do you use or what process do you use to find people on LinkedIn that you could reach out to? And there's Dr. V. John, actually, Heather, go ahead. You're the newest.
All right. So I don't actually use a tool for looking for prospects on LinkedIn. What I do is I have found thought leaders who have folks in their following who are similar to the folks that I'm looking for, and do outreach there, leave comments and valuable comments, not sales comments,
Right.
and kind of prospect there a little bit. And then I have found that going live or doing some live events, that kind of thing, has generated a lot of followers. And then for my followers, I look through there and see if they meet my target market, and then I go in and connect with them.
Fair enough. So I imagine that that's much more labor intensive than using a tool. But on the other hand, the quality of the average prospect or lead is obviously a lot higher.
Right. And it matches my business and the values around
Yeah.
my business. So very community oriented. It's really important to get the right cultural match and all of that. So
Right.
I'm not looking to sell, a billion widgets. I'm looking to find like my people.
And now that you've talked about your people, why don't you introduce yourself to these
So my
people?
name is Heather Cobbin, and I'm founder and CEO of Go Done. It's an online community for entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurially minded. All are welcome, and we work on things everywhere from productivity to marketing to financial independence.
And folks, I've been using Go Done for 2+ or almost exactly 2 years now. It's like super valuable. It's not an online kind of tool. It is literally a way to get stuff done, and other people are there, and you sort of hold each other accountable. It's amazing. You should definitely. I think I made like a video about it once just to promote it on LinkedIn. Didn't even get paid. Didn't want to. It's just like, guys, everyone should do this. This is great. You should do it. So I mean, somewhere back in the deep recesses of my video catalog on LinkedIn, there's going to be a video about Go Done.
Thanks, Dean.
You are very welcome. And then, John, what if any tools do you use to find leads on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so on the lead generation side, kind of like you, I'm experimenting with Snovio since you told me about it. So that looks very positive.
I will make just a disclaimer here.
Yeah,
To the audience generally, but two-part disclaimer. One is that we are very careful because a LinkedIn, even a paid LinkedIn account, is worth way more than you're paying. So we are super careful to stay within terms of service. And oftentimes we might like switch a tool just because LinkedIn has decided this tool doesn't really like fit in or align with what we're trying to do, and then we just move on because we are not interested in losing a LinkedIn account. Like that would be a tragedy for a small business to lose access to their LinkedIn account.
Yes.
So there's my two-part disclaimer.
No. And typically for lead generation, I, like Heather, do it by hand for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm going out onto Facebook, exactly. And, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, really trying to engage with people in some conversation about the different areas that I work in. So.
Okay. You didn't want to take the opportunity to invite, to say who you are?
I can. Yes. So my name's John Paduchak.
Everybody's so shy today. I've had 4 cups of coffee, which is unusual for me, and I am awake.
It's a whole new thing having 4 people in the group.
Yeah.
It's a new
I'm
atmosphere.
going to wrangle all you cats. Keep going. Who you are, what you do, and then we're going to go to Dr. V.
All right. So my name's John Paduchak. I work a bit with this guy here with a new agency we're starting, the Epic Win Agency, East Coast and West Coast. And a video marketing specialist, RV enthusiast, also starting a new association, the RV SBA, the RV Small Business Association.
Right on. And Dr. V, What, if any, tool do you use, or what's your methodology, if you do it, to find leads or prospects on LinkedIn or Facebook? You're on mute. Remember when the most common thing that everyone knew, the most common phrase was, "Can you hear me now?" And then it became, "You're on mute."
Oh, I think something's broken.
Yes.
Sorry, buddy, we can't hear you at all.
No.
Okay, you can just mime it out later. John, like you, I've tried Snovio. That's snov.io. Interesting tool. We'll talk about it again because it actually fills two categories. And then Duck Soup was another one, DUX-SOUP, but that one did actually, I think, run into trouble with LinkedIn, and so I just stopped, because you never want to run into trouble with the terms of service on LinkedIn. Like, be super careful about what you're doing with that.
They will block you. They will make you take a timeout. I had a
Yes, they'll put
colleague
you in
who ran
LinkedIn
into
jail.
that. Yeah.
And honestly, if you're in LinkedIn jail, consider yourself lucky, because it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Just wait it out. Send them your driver's license or however, whatever the verification process is, and just wait it out. It will happen. But yeah, careful. Okay, so then how about what's another? How about for an online course? Like if you were going to put an online course up, and it doesn't, not even if you haven't done an online course, as in authored one, created one. Has anyone heard of Kajabi or Teachable or Podia? Or those are sort of the three biggest ones, I guess. There's one more that starts with T.
Is it Thinkific?
Thinkific, yeah. So Kajabi is sort of the premium version of this. You're going to spend more for Kajabi than anything else, and it sort of bills itself as it's all of your online course tools that you would need as an author put into one. It's your outbound email. It's actually having the course. It's how to have people pay for the course. It's any sort of funnels and email sequences for and sort of a community feature and all that stuff. Podia offers a nearly identical set of services, except I don't think it has all the venture capital backing that Kajabi does. Kajabi has big backers. They don't advertise it, but they're funded by big companies. And Podia does almost exactly the same thing for as half or a third of the price. And so if you're just getting into creating your own online courses and you wanted a full featured kind of thing, I'd suggest Podia instead of Kajabi. And I've used both of them. I will tell you that Kajabi, I ended up leaving because it's extremely restrictive. Unless you pay for the most expensive $300+ a month kind of plan, it's extremely restrictive on what you can do, how things have to look. And they're also very vigilant on their email. If one or two people don't remember that they signed up to get email about your course and mark it as spam, you're in all kinds of trouble with Kajabi. There's no figuring out what happened there. And so I didn't enjoy that experience at all. And then Podia was, better, but I ended up, I should say that the course experience for all of these tools, Thinkific and Teachable and Kajabi and Podia, the course experience for the user is really good, and they're all pretty comparable. It's all the other stuff that they wrap around it, and for the most part, they're all mediocre at best at all of the other tools other than course delivery. So the email sequences, the landing pages, whatever, they're all pretty mediocre. None of their tools are as good as a company that specializes in doing that one job, landing page or emails or whatever. But have any of you ever used Kajabi, Podia, Teachable, Thinkific? Is there something new that I missed?
I've used them all.
Yeah.
And played with them all in some way, shape, or form because, we work with clients, helping them a little bit with those systems. And I know in the early days when you were looking, you and I had this discussion a lot.
Yeah.
And like you, I find Kajabi very restrictive. Podia is really good, like it for the most part. Thinkific, is really good for the fact that it gives you a lot of interaction and gamification back. So I'm still kind of looking for a great core solution.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of them have flaws.
Oh, Dr. V, I didn't notice he left. Sorry, Heather, keep going.
Oh, I was just saying I'm taking notes because I've done trainings and things like that, and I usually come together on Zoom, high touch, high interaction, and I'm looking to package some things. So I am just taking notes on this. I don't have tons of feedback.
If you've never authored a course, like an online course, not like a cohort-based live type one, but that one. Although you can build in or add in links for Zoom sessions to do that kind of stuff, and Slack channels too. But I would recommend Podia as the very first one to try out,
Right.
just because if you don't have any of the other services already in place for other parts of your business, it gets you going, and it's good enough to get started on every part of it, a landing page.
Yeah,
an
but
email.
John said gamification, so now I have to look at Thinkific because
Yeah.
gamification, who doesn't like
There's a
that?
little bit there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key reasons people seem to like it.
Dr. V, online
Yeah,
course
do
platform.
I have sound? Do I have
There you
sound?
go.
You're
They
like,
say everything showed that I had sound, but sometimes you just have to restart your computer instead of
Yeah.
putting it to sleep
happens.
at night. So yeah.
Do you have a
What do
favorite
you want
or
now?
any opinion on an online course platform?
Online course platforms. I like one that is super simple, created from my friends Jason and Caroline Zook, and it's called Teachery. TEACHERY.co. Now I've got a lifetime on it, so it's fairly easy to move around. And they recently did an entire brand refresh and an entire refresh of the interface. And so in terms of throwing something up very quickly at a very deep discount, I think Teachery is pretty darn good.
I've just made a note of it myself. It's
Yeah.
teacher.co, right?
CO, yeah, .co.
Right.
Teachery. And there's cute little, so Caroline is a graphic artist, and so they have all these cute little characters and things, like Iggy, for example, is a little monster that guides you around the platform. So it's very bright and cheerful, and
It's cute.
you kind of want to dive back in again because it's something that makes you feel good.
Well, none of the other ones that I've talked about had the foresight to create the course creation and even the user experience to be like fun or cute.
Yeah,
None
it's fun.
of them have differentiated in that way.
Well, their brand. They do coaching too, as well as digital stuff, but their coaching, they brand themselves as unboring business coaching, which I kind of like. So.
Definitely boring.
Yeah.
What about any kind of funnels? And for anyone who's not familiar, online anyway, sort of the first big mover in this place was ClickFunnels, and then I think Lead Pages does some of it as well. It's essentially where they simplify, or at least they're supposed to be simplified, ways for you to have multiple web pages that take people through a process. So you've all inevitably seen this before. You've gone online and to register for something, or maybe a course, or you wanted to buy like someone's book. It's not on Amazon, it's like at their own website. And you click on it, and maybe there's a little box in there that say, for an extra $11, you can do X. And then whether or not you click that and you click OK, put in your credit card number, then like another offer might pop up and say, before you go, one time only, you can do this sort of like, that's called an upsell. Everyone knows that it's called an upsell. What you may not know is there's also such thing as a downsell, where if someone doesn't take the upsell, you might offer them on the next page something else, or a pop-up or whatever, something else, or even the same thing at a drastically reduced price, because you'd rather sell it for something than nothing at all. And you're almost never going to have a better opportunity to get someone to buy something than the moment that they're buying something else from you. And then what it does is, from the back end, whereas these are not like usually individually created web pages, they take all the coding out of it. So all you do is, you sort of like import, or you drag over into your editor how many steps you want a viewer or purchaser to go through. And then, whether it's an upsell or a downsell, blah, blah, blah. And they'll usually like pre-populate a lot of the pages for you. And if you don't want to change much, it's even sort of templated, and you can just keep the colors and graphics and whatever, and it takes them through. And almost the thing about funnels is they have all kinds of uses beyond trying to get someone to buy something extra. So I'll give you an example. For the webinar clients that I work for now, because there's no such thing really as a webinar subscription service like Webinar Jam or Jamio or On24 or whoever you want to use, no matter how expensive they are, almost all of their registration pages are terrible. They're just like a terrible experience. And so I use a funnel service called Drop Funnels, which is, I've actually never used any other funnel service besides Drop Funnels, but I really like Drop Funnels, and the pricing is excellent, really excellent. So dropfunnels.com. And for webinar registration now, when someone goes to a landing page, I have, the registration form and all that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then when they register, it goes to a second step in the process with a new page that includes no dollar upsells. Like my clients are all B2B, so they're not trying to like sell an $8 PDF or something. These are big deals that might work out to be millions of dollars down the road. But thanks for registering. Here's some related stuff. And then, here's like another video about it. And here's, everything driving back to their website to keep people engaged and so on, right? And then when the event is over, they'll get an email saying, here's a click to watch the replay and download the collaterals or slides that was already in the, that we showed. And when they go to that page, it's already got additional stuff that they can here's, something else. Here's the slides we used. Here's how to register for the next webinar that we're holding next month and all that kind of stuff. So the nice part about it is once you set up that basic process once with ClickFunnels, lead pages, drop funnels, like I use, whichever one you want to use, you just duplicate it for the next month or the next webinar or the next whatever, next live event. And then you just change some of the details on those pages. It's like almost no work. That really all of the work is upfront, creating how you want it to proceed. And so if you guys have not, I don't know if you have used lead pages, GrooveFunnels is another one. Then you can use these sort of funnels and pre-built sequences to take readers and anyone else through. And those services are more expensive usually than a typical cheap web hoster like HostGator or something. But it's a great way to sort of add a lot of value to everybody involved, the client, you, if you are your client, the people interacting with your content and want to register for something or buy something. It's fantastic. And it just requires some sort of work up front. So I'm a big fan of drop funnels. Granted, they're the only one I've ever used, but I'm a big fan. I'm sure somebody here has used GrooveFunnels.
We have been using GrooveFunnels.
We're pretty groovy over here. Yeah. I still have a ClickFunnels account, but rarely use it now, only because the GrooveFunnels thing is lifetime and free, and the ClickFunnels thing is anywhere from $97 to $297 a month. So
it's pricey.
It is.
But you can also, there's also an option for a baby version of ClickFunnels, which is like $19 a month. Oh, yeah. And if you want to pause your ClickFunnels, it's $9.99 a month. You can still keep all the funnels that you have in there, but I'm gradually, exporting them into Groove. So
yeah, almost every competitor to ClickFunnels, they are sort of like, they're the Microsoft of this field, right? They were sort of there first and they got big. Almost every other competitor will allow you to import your ClickFunnels funnels into their service instead, so you don't have to rebuild everything.
Well, you still have to modify things because sometimes the margins aren't right and the sizes and boxes. It's a little harrowing at times. But
for GrooveFunnels, because with drop funnels, it seems to work really, really seamlessly.
Yeah, it's not seamless, but it seems to be getting better.
It's improving.
Okay.
Well, I'll chime in as the bootstrapping solopreneur in the group and say, nope, not going to pay for that software as a service at this point. I also don't offer enough products to, there's only so much you can do. And my funnel's pretty unidirectional at this point of coming deeper and deeper in. There's not as much lateral movement for paid products anyway. So I really like using my landing page. So you can either use the landing pages that usually an email service will have one, or you have a web page and you can do a landing page version of it. Right. And the important thing is just to think about the upsell or the cross sell or whatever it is, even if it's paid or unpaid, because usually in the confirmation, so I'll offer a lead magnet. And once somebody gives me their email and subscribes, or they give me their email and they go to collect the lead magnet, you get a confirmation message. It should be an upsell in that confirmation message or a cross sell in there. They need to, be joining my online community, maybe looking at a free week, that kind of thing. And so you can I think it's really important to take that funnel mindset into the technology that you have. And then when you get to the point where you're like, the tech I have ain't going to do it, then you look at spending the money on something that's going to be a little bit fancier. But between pop-ups and confirmation messages, and then you could even have an email sequence that kicks off after that, which is, of course, they've moved away from the purchase kind of mindset. So I think getting them in the moment, getting that cross-sell or upsell in the moment, I think is super important. Love the idea of the downsell as well.
I will say, please be simple and avoid putting your prospects through upsell hell, is what I call it. Because they start doing 5 and 6 upsells. Like, no.
I'm never going to get out of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a huge values mismatch for the people that I'm trying to attract.
Yeah.
If I get somebody who's like, keep upselling me. Yeah, the money's nice, but please don't join my community because that's not what we're about. So,
what about mail services?
Oh.
We're
addicted to Active Campaign.
I love Active Campaign.
Yeah.
Tell me why Active Campaign over Mailchimp.
One reason, because well, maybe there are many reasons,
There are
but
many
the
reasons.
main reason I love ActiveCampaign and moved away from Mailchimp is that at least at the time, and I still use Mailchimp on behalf of clients,
Yeah.
but I don't pay for my own Mailchimp. And the reason I switched to ActiveCampaign is because the integrations are fantastic. Like it works with almost any service I ever even look at. But B, they include all of their, or nearly all of their, automation processes. Follow-ups and sequences, and if someone registers, then send them this. But blah 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 blah. They do all that stuff at a price point that's way below. Like they include it in every plan, even their super cheapest plan. Whereas with Mailchimp, at least when I switched, you needed to have a much more expensive plan to have anything other than one or two of the. I think Mailchimp calls them sequences.
Mhm.
But sequences or automations or workflows, it's all the same thing, right? Somebody does something, and then you tag them with this, or you email them back, or you do whatever. Any of that sort of not quite just registered and went into a database kind of thing. But anything beyond that, ActiveCampaign does a great job, and it's way cheaper.
I refer to ActiveCampaign as the poor man's Infusionsoft because
Yeah.
of all those
Yeah, in a
automations.
lot of ways. Yeah.
And if you're willing to spend a little more, it'll even act as your CRM, right? It'll keep track of everybody. It'll
Yes.
score them and weight them. And here are the people who are likeliest to buy from you because of their activity and what they click through and the earlier emails you sent to them and all kinds of stuff.
It's a little bit of a learning curve in it, but once you
Yeah.
get familiar with the blocks and moving things around, it's actually pretty easy.
I will say this. The problem with saying that something has a learning curve is this is what I've noticed. Some percentage of people hear that and say it's hard from day one, and it's not. ActiveCampaign
No.
is super easy to use right
It's
from day
getting
one.
fancy. It's getting fancy with your automations. That's my learning curve.
There's lots of room for you to grow into it, but it's not hard to get started with.
No.
It's
No.
actually Mailchimp's also really easy to get started with it.
Yeah, in fact, compared to a lot of the other email services, ConvertKit, I found to be a little more difficult to get started with. I use Mailchimp for my wife's business. I like it. It works.
How
It's
about you,
simple.
Heather? What do you use?
Deliverability is good.
Yeah, so I'm using Mailchimp, and I have struggled with the automation piece of it. Excuse me, not the automation, the integration with my Done registration software, and my infrastructure has changed a little bit, so that's not as important. But I had all these great sequences set up, and then it wasn't speaking correctly to Acuity, where a lot of my signups were happening. And so I have very limited, solopreneur, bootstrapping. Like my time is absolutely my most precious thing.
Yes.
And I've done integrations and things before. I've worked with HubSpot for a long time, which was great, but out of my price range for what my needs were.
Right.
So I set all this stuff up, and then it would send these automated emails to somebody who just showed up for a session. I was looking at recapture, right? Reminders for capture. We haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Come sign up for, an accountability session. And then it would send to people like, I was there yesterday. Like, why am I getting this email? And so I was like spamming my people, and I was like, you're off. And it's on the to-do list to revisit and re-problem solve. But as a bootstrapping entrepreneur, I'm like, screw you people. Like, this is out. I got to find a different workaround or take the time and energy to go into something else. So I like hearing this about ActiveCampaign, and I'll probably put that on the agenda.
The other thing the problem with integrations I found for Mailchimp is, while Mailchimp probably has more integrations because it's older and bigger than Mailchimp than ActiveCampaign, in a lot of services, especially in my world in webinar services, you can automatically, when someone registers for a webinar, say, with the integrations built in, you can automatically have that person put into your Mailchimp list, but you can't add any tags. And tags are a big deal in Mailchimp and ActiveCampaign, and really everyone should be using them more, because everyone who registers, I want to tag them with the webinar, for instance, that they registered for. Otherwise, they're just another person in my list, and I have no idea why they're in there.
Right.
And so I can't send them like automated sequences. Whereas now, if someone signs up on one of the webinar registration pages I use for clients, it's automatically tagging them with like a sort of a tag that includes the customer name and what webinar it was and so on. And then I have automations that can run automatically, which you'd expect because it's called an automation. Probably ridiculous to say automation. But I can have a lot of times what happens is you sign up for a webinar and then you never think or hear about that webinar until like the day before you get an email saying, hey, by the way, there's going to be a webinar tomorrow. You signed up for it. So we can keep people warm by sending them an email every few days or once a week or something right up until the webinar happens, because out of Mailchimp in this case, because they have a pretty good they have one of the expensive versions of Mailchimp. A lot of these clients, because I have a tag, and I had a tag because I had to overwrite it and do some fancy coding to get it in there. Whereas by default, it's very hard to do tags on integrations in my experience with Mailchimp. It's dead simple with ActiveCampaign. Like, it's assumed everybody you put in there is going to have some kind of tag. So again, Mailchimp just makes it a lot easier. ActiveCampaign makes it a lot easier to deal with, even when you're off ActiveCampaign and in some other service. But yeah, not surprised to hear that everyone's using one or the other of ActiveCampaign or Mailchimp.
Mhm.
I don't really hear much about Aweber or Constant Contact or really any of those services anymore. It seems like
Well, ConvertKit was proposed by a lot of people, made for bloggers by bloggers, and I know that some of my friends use it and they seem to prefer it, but I haven't found the attraction. But I don't know.
I mean,
status quo is what it's all about. The idea of
Yeah.
having to stop, learn a whole new system,
Yeah,
and get all of, it's really hard to fight that.
Don't make me change.
Yeah.
Don't make me think.
I don't enjoy learning email systems. Don't make me do it more than once.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's easy
I
for
love
me.
learning email systems. It's
Well, that's
fantastic.
you.
All right, fair enough. And then what about for email marketing? Like, you might not even be doing email marketing. Now, the difference between an email service provider like Mailchimp or ActiveCampaign and an email marketing campaign like Cavato or Mailshake or Woodpecker or even Snovio is that with Mailchimp and ActiveCampaigns, like, those are really sort of organized around subscribers and customers.
Yeah.
Which is to say, you're not allowed, by their terms of service, you're not allowed to be sending emails to people who have not signed up to hear from you. And if you import an Excel sheet full of people, there's a little check box that you have to check off saying, yes, all of these people have agreed to hear from me. Otherwise, the import into ActiveCampaign or Mailchimp won't even go forward. Whereas the other systems are for people that you've gotten their email address somehow, and you want to send, like a one-time or like a very soft sort of, hey, we're doing this. If you're interested, we exist, kind of thing, right? And so, what they do is they connect to your own mail service. So if you're using Office 365 or you're using Google for Work, or whatever it's called now, Google Workspaces, Google for Small Business, whatever, it actually connects through to that account and sends it out through your account. Whereas, of course, ActiveCampaign and Mailchimp send it out from their own account. It never touches. You can't go into your sent box and look at the emails you sent to those people if you use Mailchimp or ActiveCampaign. So that's the main difference between those two services. The main difference is you can send emails to people who have not subscribed or indicated they want to hear from you, and you end up using your own mail account, and they connect through it. Does anybody use Woodpecker, Snovio, Mailshake?
Well, we're just starting with Snovio.
Yeah, Snovio and Mailshake. But I was going to say too, Dean, isn't this kind of where Pipeline, Pipedrive type software falls into play too with email marketing? I think.
Yeah, sort of.
A little bit.
Now you're into CRMs, right? Like Salesforce and Pipedrive and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And they also send mail through your account,
right?
Yeah. The other thing I guess I should have mentioned is all of those sort of email campaign services will let you split test.
Yes.
So you can send like different versions to see which open rate works better, which subject line works better, what email version people tend to click from, and so on. You can do, of course, in Mailchimp and ActiveCampaign, but again, you can't send emails to people who haven't said that they want to hear from you with those bigger services, and you can with the email services, the campaign services. So you guys have started using Mailshake. Has anyone used Woodpecker or Snovio? Oh, you said it was Snovio you're starting to use.
Snovio and not Milkshake, Mailshake.
Milkshake. My Mailshake brings all the subscribers to the yard. Yeah.
Exactly.
While we don't discuss politics, I would just make one point about Snovio. Ukrainian company.
Yes.
That did enter into our decision.
The only reason I knew that, by the way, I was using it for a while. I knew it because they sent me an email and they say, hey, by the way, just we're a Ukrainian company and we're no longer allowing people in Russia to use our service. That's it. I mean, I guess they sent it to everybody in the world who uses
They did.
Skydio. So I just said, okay, I guess they're a Ukrainian company. There you go. Right on.
There you go.
Snovio, no Russians allowed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Well, I
mean,
definitely don't, because I don't like getting those emails, and so I don't like sending those emails. I do think it can be an incredibly effective strategy, and I think most people don't send a gentle, soft email. I think most people blanket
Yeah, as
spam.
long as you're
yeah,
not
they show
hard
up with a
selling all the
sledgehammer.
time.
Yeah,
Most people
so they
do it
kind of
more-
ruined it. Like, I might have considered it another time, whatever, but the whole culture around it, I'm like, opt out. No, and I tend to mark them as spam when they show up in my inbox, depending on where they came from and what kind of message. It's really hard to not get marked
Well,
as spam.
be on the lookout for mine, and you can spam.
I know. It's like, don't put me on your list. We'll wreck your spam rating. And of course, again, if my spam rating goes up and my newsletter is like a huge piece of my business. And the more inboxes it hits, the better for me. And so if my spam rating goes up, like, I am in trouble. So
yeah, we had problems. I'm actually in Active Campaign right now, finishing a draft for my wife's newsletter, and we had a situation where somebody was using a bot, and we were getting emails from subscribers, alleged subscribers, with Russian, German, Netherlands, and a number of other different URLs, and they were just going out there and just taking accounts that were relatively dormant and subscribing them to the newsletter. And we got several warnings from Active Campaign. We're trying to figure out, where is this coming from? Right. And so it was a bot attack on the email, on the subscriber box on my wife's Mexican food blog.
But they worked with you on that Active Campaign.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Every once in a while, there's still one that comes up saying spam, spam. And I realize the range of dates, which is around May of last year, and where they're from. And so I just started, for example, one of the ways of purging that email list was to delete anything with a .nl for Netherlands or Germany, which is kind of sad because I have a number of people in Germany, get them to resubscribe. And then anything with a .ru or a China, I just deleted all of them, to try and tap down that kind of bot attack. So.
All right, gentlemen, we're at 1:30. I got to go run a Go Done session.
Time
so
to
I'm going to say thank you and
Thanks,
see you
everyone.
next time.
Nice to meet you.
Go, go, go.